Hey everyone, I hope you guys are doing well. I wanted to bring you a video on how to remove charge-offs and increase your credit score. So if you're new to my channel, I bring you content and information how to improve your credit score no matter where you are in your credit journey. So please like this video and consider subscribing to my channel. Also, you guys, there's a lot of scammers in the comment section. They're using people from YouTube, even myself personally. My picture, responding to the comments. Be very careful. I am not doing any consultations. I would never send you a WhatsApp number or a Gmail or any kind of email to contact me. If you want to contact me, you can go directly to my website. All your questions go directly to my cell phone. So if somebody is responding to you, make sure my name is highlighted or click on the photo to make sure the subscribers match the channel. Now, I'm going to bring you this information, and I want you guys to, if you have any references for the information that I'm going to have for you, you can reference my book. A lot of this that I'm going to talk to you today come from how to boost your credit and stop collections. Okay, so it's going to be very important. I'm going to mention some strategies, and if you have any questions, a lot of that comes from that book that I wrote. I also have courses and letter packages if you need more information to help you with your credit, especially my dispute packages. We're having we're giving a 20% discount. We're running a promotion. I will put the discount code in the pinned comment section, you guys, so y'all can get that code and you can go there and you can get these dispute letters for these charge-offs that will go to the credit bureaus. Now, one of the things we're going to have to do some basic groundwork for you to know the difference between a charge-off and a collection, because a lot of people get that confused. Now, a charge-off is a debt that you have with your original creditor. It can be in the form of a repossession. You'll see it as a charge-off on your credit report, credit card, a charge-off. These are companies you actually did business with. But what would happen is, most of the times, these companies will try to collect on that debt for about 180 days. And when they cannot collect, they will charge off, or sometimes you'll see write off the debt as a bad debt. And that's so they can get a credit for that loss from the IRS. So what will happen in that process, if you owe them $2,000 for that debt, they'll write that off. The IRS will give them a tax credit, and usually they'll sell that debt to a third-party collector, because what can happen is if they try to then collect that $2,000 from you, that's a gain of $4,000. So you'll see them sell that debt, and the third party or collection company will buy that debt and pay them for that debt at a really discounted rate. But with the bank itself or the lender, they sell a bunch of these debts. So for them, they've been are actually compensated by the IRS, and now this is actually a gain for them. So you'll see that. Now, does that mean they cannot come and sue you? Yeah, they can. It depends on your state laws, the time frame. So you can still see a lawsuit, and I have a video on how to deal with that in those cases. But most of the times they'll sell it to a collection company who is coming on a third party basis, who actually don't really have the same rights as that original creditor that you actually agreed to do business with. So you want to consider, when you're dealing with a charge-off, two strategies. Now, which strategy you're going to use, I always suggest it's how much you owe on that debt. Smaller debts, which would be $2,000 and below, could be better settled by better off by settling that debt. But it's a way you want to settle that debt. Because keep in mind, if you pay that debt without settling it in a particular way, it will be a paid charge-off. Still a negative item on your credit report. So a lot of people are caught by surprise. They'll say, oh, I settled, I paid it, but they got nothing in writing, and they didn't employ certain strategies in order to, what I tell people, turn that negative reporting to a positive reporting. So I'll talk about that later in the video on ways to do that. But if you have a debt that's $2,000 and up, it is best to try to dispute that debt because it's a larger debt. Now, sometimes you still have to settle that because you can be on a time constraint. You know, you're trying to close on a house and you really don't have much time. But let's first talk about disputing that debt. Some things you need to do. Number one, you want to make sure when it comes down to disputing negative items, you want to remove incorrect personal identifiers on your credit report, old addresses, incorrect names and aliases, anything that is inaccurate in that category, especially old addresses, because this is how it works. Everybody that's watching me right now have someone in the United States or even in your state with your same exact name. How the credit bureaus identify John Smith, which is a common name from another John Smith, is by personal identifiers. One of them being an address you resided at, date of birth, all these other things, but addresses are big. So say that person with the name John Smith lived in an apartment building, an old address that was a charge-off 3 years ago, and they moved. You want to remove that old address because that is how that negative item or charge-off is being linked to you. It's the creditor at the time when you were living at that address. So you want to first remove those old addresses. Equifax is notorious for having, like, you'll see you got tons of old addresses from Equifax, almost like for 20 years ago, old addresses. And this is why they like to keep them on, so they can constantly link these negative items to you. So you want to remove that. Also, if you're not aware, the credit bureaus are not bureaus, government agencies. They're private corporations, and they make money from selling data. Okay, your data. And people say, oh, well, why won't they remove these things? They don't care about you. They make billions of dollars by selling information to their customers. And their customers are the banks, collection agencies, landlords, people that buy this information on you. Believe it or not, subprime information is very valuable because banks and lenders make money off of interest. And for the credit bureaus, it is very lucrative for them to have negative information on you because the banks in return pay more for subprime accounts than good credit accounts because they can charge you interest. So one thing you want to make sure when you sending out these dispute letters, you want to keep a track record. Okay. Now, with me, with my letters, I use affidavits, and you always use certifies because they want to play these games like they don't receive your letters. They love that because they're not really incentivized to take it off. Okay, they don't want to take negative items off. That's why 75% of credit reports have negative or incorrect information on the credit reports. They never found a situation where somebody was giving good credit ever because it does not incentivize them to do that. So you want to make sure that you get incorrect old addresses off of your credit reports, and also look at and get access to your LexisNexis credit report. If you don't know, there are other CRAs, that's credit reporting agencies. LexisNexis is probably the fourth biggest ones. If you don't know, this is where the big three verify their information from in the background through LexisNexis. LexisNexis, unlike TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, which are the big three, they don't keep information just for 7 years. They keep all your information. So with me, I had 72 pages of information. My daughter's 23. When we got hers, she had 24 pages of information, from where you went to high school, addresses, all this information, tickets, all, like how many driving tickets, violations, all that information is there. You can Google it, and you can go to the website and you can get your report from them. Anything inaccurate, you need to remove it. Old addresses, try to remove it. Because this is where the bureaus verify this information from in the background. And people who don't believe, I had a couple of people go toe to toe. It's a lot of discrimination in those reports and in your address. Keep in mind, I work for insurance companies. Understand, you're being charged a premium by what? Your address. Depending on where you live, you're paying higher premiums. A lot of that has a lot of discrimination in it. Okay? Even with your what you're being lent to, like how much you're being lent, like far as credit card limits, they judge you off of the people in your area. What's the average credit score? This is why you hear a lot of people that say they get them an address in another area, because you might have a better credit score than a particular person in another area. And guess what? They'll get a larger credit line than you. Because you live in a certain area, you would know that you're not being given as much, because they're judging what is the average credit score in that area. And if you live in urban areas, like the city of Newark, they're known for a 620, a low credit score. You can be judged by that. So if you are no longer there, or you might want to remove some of these old addresses. I even had an attorney just on a lawsuit for a fire for a property asked me, hey, where you went to high school? I told him where I went to high school. He said it was great. And actually, in New Jersey, it's one of the fifth wealthiest counties, fifth or sixth wealthiest counties. He said, oh, that's great. I said, well, why would my high school, where I went to high school, matter? He said, because what they are even offering you is based off of where you went to high school, they judge what you would accept. So if you want to, I'm just giving you little intricacies, you guys. There is certain people don't want to believe it, because they want to believe, it's not this, and that. It's because of my hard work. Kind of true, but kind of not. Okay. There's redlining. Banks have been caught redlining in certain areas for a reason, because there's discrimination. So deal with those old addresses, and this will also help you uproot when you're disputing some of these items. Now, when you are sending your dispute letters, I send affidavits, because what will happen, they are not really looking to remove negative items. As I say, they make billions of dollars for selling negative information. So you want the avenue of having a track record and proof and evidence that you are disputing these items. And if you find inaccurate information, you want to have your paperwork in order. Now, when it comes to charge-offs, you need to look at your credit report and look at where in the process that charge-off is. And this is how you're going to know. You need to look at that charge-off. If that charge-off have a balance, say of $5,000, that it's reporting a balance, and you look at the notations and it don't say sold, then that charge-off is still with the original creditor. They did not sell that. But if you look at that charge-off and you see the balance as being 0, and you go down and it says sold, that charge-off is sold. And usually you will see a collection company at the bottom trying to collect on that charge-off debt. Now, if you have a collection and a charge-off, pay attention to this. If it's a $10,000 charge-off and they have the balance of $10,000, and then you see a collection reporting for that same debt for $10,000, that is a violation, because what you really owe is $10,000 for that charge-off. But by the charge-off company and the collection company reporting that, it's showing $20,000 worth of debt that's owed. That's a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So you need to dispute it off of those grounds. Also, you need to look at all 3 credit reports. Remember, anything that's being reported, whether it's true or not, has to be 100% complete and accurate. Okay, so it has to be complete and accurate information. So what you want to do is see if you can find any inaccurate reporting. Remember, whatever is being reported to the credit bureaus is coming from one source. That one source is that original creditor. So if you look at that debt or that charge-off and the date of last payment is January 1st, and let's say that is Experian. You go to Equifax, that date of last payment is February 1st. That is inaccurate information, and it needs to be removed because that is not reporting correctly. What you want to do is either take a screenshot, show proof that this is inconsistent, this is inaccurate, and it's coming from one source. So if it's a lie being told, it's being told by the creditor. And you want to dispute that because that is a violation of the FCRA, which is the Fair Credit Reporting Act. Other things to look for: high balance. See if that's consistent across the board. Date of last activity, date of last payment. These 2 dates, you'll see sometimes that they'll change to a more recent date, because that is when the clock start running to continue to report that for that 7 years. You'll see that they like to update this date, and that's called reaging a debt. That is a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act. So if you see that or see that date across all 3 credit bureaus inconsistent, take a screenshot, send that along with your affidavit, certified mail, and show that this is incorrect. So this is how you want to attack those items. These are the things you want to look for, and you may have to dispute this a couple of times, because one bureau may remove that, and then you might have another bureau that is more resistant. So what would be great if you get one bureau to remove it and it's gone, then you can update that with your screenshot. This isn't even on that credit report. Now, the reason why you want to use affidavits and you want to use certified letters, if this is not removed and you have found inaccurate information, you can file a complaint with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. This is the government agency that oversees the credit bureaus or FCRAs across the board. That means LexisNexis, CoreLogic, SageStream, and all. If they're reporting inaccurate information, this is the oversight. And you simply take the evidence that you have, because a lot of times they'll say, oh, this is a frivolous dispute, you'll get that back. If you have the evidence and you show, because what they're saying frivolous, keep in mind, you guys, credit repair agencies do not have a right to dispute on your behalf, and they can ignore letters coming from a credit repair agent. The reason why you're using the affidavit, because you have went to a person that been given authority of your state and having that letter notarized. So with your ID, they cannot say it is not coming from you. So once you send those affidavits, now submit them online, because they haven't removed the information, to the complaint department of the Consumer Financial Protection Agency. You got hardcore evidence that it was you. They're continuing to report negative information, and this is a violation of the Fair Credit Reporting Act, or the FCRA. So that's how you're going to dispute those items when you're disputing. Now, say if you have an item that you just need to settle, okay? When settling charge-off accounts, make sure that you looked at that item and it's not sold, and you want to deal not with a collection agency, with the original creditor. Okay, that's who you want to deal with, and you want to settle that account. So say if it's a $200 account, is over 3 years old, to see if you can settle that debt for maybe, let's say, $120 to just get rid of the debt. But you want to make sure that they report it, once you pay it, as paid as agreed. Nothing less. Not paid satisfactory, not paid charge off, paid as agreed. That is what's going to turn that negative item to a positive item. And you have to get this in writing. There's a technique where you can actually try to settle this by sending a letter, and also using what we call a restrictive check endorsement. Okay, so it's called a satisfactory in accordance agreement with a restrictive check endorsement. I have examples of that in my book. And what you would do is, before you send this settlement, you're gonna write down your proposal. Basically, you're going to let them know, I want to settle this debt for this amount on this payment, but if you receive this payment, and I'm just surmising, okay, if you receive this payment and you agree to deposit this payment within 30 days, you will report this to all CRAs, credit reporting agencies, as paid as agreed. Okay, you want to make sure they agree to that term, so you will send that letter out first, then, and let them know, if I do not hear back from you within 15 days, I will be sending this payment out. And this, by your not replying back no to my offer, I'm considering as you agree to the offer. So what you would do is then take a check, and under the signature line, put all your terms and conditions that's in that letter. Then what you can do is put that in that letter and send that to that company. A lot of times they'll just sign that check and deposit that check, and they're agreeing to the terms and conditions of what you put out. If they do not, turn that over and make sure it's reported as paid as agreed and take that payment, then they are in violation of the whole new terms that you just made up, because what you're doing is changing the terms of the contract. You're telling them by taking this payment, you're agreeing to this. So them signing on that signature line, accepting that payment, is them accepting the terms and conditions of the settlement. So that's one way. And like I said, I talk about that in the book. Another way, you can call them up. Make sure you're very careful if you're going to settle this, what you say over the phone, because as I told you guys in prior videos, they record your conversation and that will be used in court. Okay, so you want to be very careful if you're doing it over the phone. If you come to a settlement, you got to make sure that they're going to report it paid as agreed, or remove it altogether. Okay, if not, if you don't get this in writing, you have no recourse. You guys, you have absolutely no recourse. You can even set up payment arrangements with them, and at the end of the payment period, they will report it paid as agreed. If they want to, if you have a larger debt, if you want to do it that way, but make sure they either email you something before you send that payment. You got to get in writing, because if they don't do it, then you can sue them in your local court, okay, to force them to do that. So always make sure if you're on the phone, you're getting names, customer service first and last name, and supervisor first and last name, department. Make sure you get names, because as I talk about in my book, you want to hold people personally responsible if you have to initiate a lawsuit along with the company. This is very effective, okay, for having leverage, because what happens is all these companies are using the bureaus to have leverage. That's the only thing they have over you. So you need to get names to create your own leverage. So hopefully this is helpful. If you have any questions, I know it's a lot of information, but we have courses at our website. We have packages. If you need to contact me directly about your situation, submit your question at my website. If you have a general question, just put it in the video in the comment section, and I will try my best to answer your question. Hopefully this is helpful, and I'll see you guys in the next video.